I remember as a new agent, every rejection I felt pain around it.
Your day is a bank of time. You're going to be trading that time for some sort of activity that makes you dollars.
Focusing and drilling in on the things that make you the most money and getting better at them is going to have a much higher return than you trying new things or going to the next flashy object.
This is the reason people don't make phone calls.
Yeah.
They're afraid that they're going to get that person on the other line that's just badgering them, just so mean that they cry.
Understanding where your business comes from so that way you can make data-driven decisions and not emotional decisions. Realtors are terrible about this.
Very few, if any, buyers can effectively communicate their criteria for a home. I mean, they can give you the basics like bedrooms, baths, things like that, but they have a vision for their life that they're trying to fit into that house, and they can't really communicate the entirety of that vision of their life.
10 things I would tell myself as a new agent. Let's jump in. I was really excited to do this one today, and I recorded a couple of Facebook videos leading up to kind of work through some of the content. But yeah, you know, we're coaching new agents a lot. We're talking to agents in six-figure real estate school. So I thought it would just be good for us to go through. It's like, hey, you know, what I would tell my younger self. You know, I got into this business at I was 27 at the time, 26 or 27 when I went to real estate school, and the world has changed a lot in real estate, but there's so much of it that's just the same, and so many things that I wish I would have done at the very beginning. So I thought it would be good for us to talk about that. So as always, please like, subscribe, join our private Facebook group. We're going to start getting more exclusive content in our private Facebook group or in our Facebook group, The Agent Bridge. So go find us on Facebook, and so we can have an active conversation, you know, daily, weekly, all that stuff. Okay. So, also Six Figure Real Estate School. If you don't know about it, there's going to be a link in the show notes. We're having so much fun in Six Figure Real Estate School with seeing agents just take off, even in a market like this where, you know, things are different. But we are having agents go from 0 to 2 million by the time they get out of 2 million transactions.
In the middle of the class, yeah.
In the middle of the class. And so that's one of the things that's unique about Six Figure Real Estate Schools. We get you started immediately. All right, so let's go. Number 1, don't take everything so personally. I remember as a new agent, every rejection I felt pain around it. And there were times that I let that fear shut me down from posting on social media, putting something out in the world, sending an email because I was afraid to get bad news. And so that stopped me from taking action. And there was so much opportunity that was wasted because of fear. And one of the things I put in the notes here is like, get rejected so much that it's funny.
Yeah. We talk about this one in Six Figure Real Estate School a lot because this is the reason people don't make phone calls.
Yeah.
They're afraid that they're going to get that person on the other line that's just badgering them, just so mean that they cry, but that doesn't happen. So, even if it does, it's they have something going on in their lives that has nothing to do with you.
It's not about you, it's about them. And so, I will tell you guys, you know, honestly, we send out, you know, emails and podcasts and whatever. We still get people that, rant towards us. And now we've encountered it so much that it's funny because we're like, okay, well, it doesn't have anything to do with us because there's so many people that have been helped by what we do that it's like, it's funny when somebody says like, get me out of your pyramid scheme. And you're like, what are you talking about? Pyramid scheme?
Yeah. I mean,
it's not multi-level marketing. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. When you have 30 or 40, 50,000 downloads and you get a hate comment or two,
that's part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah. But I think there's like this fear that, hey, I'm going to post something and somebody's going to say something negative or somebody's going to disagree with me or whatever. And here's what I can tell you. And again, as my younger self, I'd be like, don't worry about it. Most people are not thinking about you that much. Most people are not really worried about what you're doing. They're worried about what's going on in their own lives. A few people will interact with you or will get the help, and those are the people you're trying to connect with.
Exactly. Kyle Draper was on our podcast. That's deep. That's probably one of the first 10 episodes or so.
Yeah.
But he kind of alluded to the same thing. He was like, look, people are absorbing so much content that the fact that they didn't like your content or it didn't sit well with them, they're going to swipe and move on to the next thing, and
right.
you're out. And the people that you do connect with are going to dive deeper into your content to learn more about what you're doing and what you have to offer them. And that's the people who you're worried about.
Right. And I think, the deal for a lot of agents and even for us, like, getting out there and marketing and advertising and putting stuff on social media, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do because you got to think about it. But it is a reality in the world now, in the business world, in the real estate world, that you need to be actively marketing. So whether you do it or whether you delegate it, it needs to get done. And so make sure that it happens and don't worry about what people are going to think or do. It just doesn't matter.
Yep.
Okay, number 2, most deals will close. As a new agent, I wrung my hands so much over getting deals together or making deals come together or getting them under contract and babysitting them all the way to closing. And look, 90% of deals are going to close. There's so much buy-in, like how many decisions does the buyer have to make before they put an offer on that house, right? The seller's already like packed up and moving. Most deals are going to close. They're typically not going to fall out.
People are too invested when it gets to that point, and usually it's going to close. If it doesn't, there's some very specific things that you maybe should have seen earlier on.
Yeah. It's usually pretty bad, and deals will bust, and you're going to learn from it. It's a part of the deal, but wrapping your hands around the neck of the deal will often strangle it. So you need to use time as your ally. So one of the things that I think about in reference to time is there are times where you need to move quickly and times that you need to move slowly. And so the more that you learn that balance, the better. Like, for example, if you're in a multiple offer situation, you need to move quickly, right? If you're working through repairs, you need to work slowly. The reason that is because you need to give yourself time to come up with solutions. You need to give the buyer and seller time to come up with solutions as well, because sometimes they can come up with solutions that you didn't even think about just by giving them time to think about it.
Yep.
So learning how to use that balance of time, I think, is critical as well in the process of getting the deal. But you don't, once something's under contract, there's no rush to solve problems super quickly. As a matter of fact, one of the things I was saying in the Facebook post in terms of like repairs and all of that stuff is just like, send the information, tell them you're going to talk to them about it later, rather than calling them and giving them bad news right away.
Yeah.
Right. That way, and also go ahead and research potential solutions for that problem. And then that way you can come with a solution and you've given them time to get out of that fight or flight mentality.
Yeah, it's the worst situation to hand someone bad news and not have any solutions to back it up. So if you're going to hand out bad news to your clients, it needs to be more like, hey, here's what's going on. I know it's not what you wanted to hear. However, here's 3 things that we could do to combat this, whatever that thing is.
Exactly.
And people are going to be like, all right, well, we have options still. Like, it's okay. Like, we're moving forward. It's the worst thing in the world just to be like, though, this is on fire and I don't know what we're going to do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds bad.
Exactly. Number 3, educate, don't sell. And I learned this because I saw like top of their class or top of their company salespeople come in and not make it in real estate. Top pharmaceutical reps, top new home builder reps, whatever. And they go, I can do this. I'm going to get in real estate. I'm an experienced salesperson. And they don't make it because they spend too much time trying to sell the product.
Yeah.
They spend too much time walking somebody through the house and trying. It's like, man, people are going to walk in. My thing is like when I walk in a house, we talked about this last week, I think. When I walk in a house, I'm going to look at, hot water heater, HVAC, things like that, any potential problems. I'm looking at systems and I'm letting them figure out, like the buyers figure out if they want that house or not. And so, but the more you can think about educating them on the process, educating them on the market, and letting them make the decision versus trying to force a decision on them.
Yeah. Very few, if any, buyers can effectively communicate their criteria for a home. I mean, they can give you the basics like bedrooms, baths, things like that, but they have a vision for their life that they're trying to fit into that house, and they can't really communicate the entirety of that vision of their life. And they'll walk in one day and they'll be like, I can see my family sitting around the Christmas tree over here, and I can see us having dinner over here, and that's what sells the house.
They're picturing themselves. You can never do that.
You can never do that for them. So you're not, the pharmaceutical reps or these people are selling a commodity, a product, and that product is solving a problem. Well, this product is something that they're going to live in and have memories in and experiences in, and that's not something that's easy to sell.
It's an extension of their personal lives. That's really well said. I think, people have a vision, and they can't effectively communicate that to you. They can only experience it. They can walk in, they can say, hey, is this the experience that I want from this house? And you can't give that to them.
Yeah.
No matter how much you try to talk them into it.
You as a real estate agent or just trying to get them to the point where they are thinking about what their future looks like and what it means to move from the location that they're in now to a future home. That's you're building that bridge, and then once you've built that, they're going to find the house that fits it.
Exactly. So when you're educating and serving, you're building trust. And that's really what you want to do, is build trust in the relationship between you and the client. And the minute you try to start selling a product, you're losing trust, because you're not going to tell them this is the right house for them.
Yeah. I mean, you're their advocate. That's all you need to be in this. You need to educate them about the process and what happens next, and advocate for them throughout. And that's your role.
Okay. I'm going to piss some people off on this one. Number 4, emotional intelligence is more important than your realtor designation.
Well, people might not have realtor designations anymore when NAR goes away.
Exactly. That's true. Look, nobody cares about your... Well, I know. Look, you've gained good information. I'm not trying to knock those classes like the GRI and the CRS and the LHS and the whatever. All these realtor designations. But the general public doesn't know what you mean. They don't know what those things mean. I get that it's a feather in your cap, but that, I would say, learning more about psychology, how people make decisions, the understanding different personality types and how they process information.
Yep.
Like all of that emotional intelligence, and studying the human being and the decision-making process and the psychology and understanding the stress that they're going through, that is 10 times more important than being a certified residential specialist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. And I can't promise you that this will increase the amount of your business, because that's more on lead generation.
Yeah.
But everybody who uses you will have a great experience if you get really good at a couple things: problem solving, negotiation, and educating people about the process.
Yes.
If you get good at those 3 things, every deal that you go through, people are going to appreciate you. Mm-hmm. I just can't promise you're going to have more business, because that's more on the lead gen side. But the business that you do have, you will effectively run the transactions if you can get good at those 3 things.
Well, I would say you get more business through referrals, because people are going to have good experiences and refer you out. Right.
Sure.
But yes, to your point, you still need to focus on the lead generation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And and understanding, that really in those different personality types, it's like, how does this person process information, and how do I deliver this information to them in a way that makes sense? How do I connect?
Yeah.
Connect the dots for them. And so understanding those different things is understanding those nuances of people and psychology. Become a student of the human being, not necessarily the deal.
Yeah.
And so, not that I'm saying any of those things. The deal is important. Understanding the process is important, but it's relatively simple. Understanding psychology is a little more complicated, but it will come. You're going to have such a better experience for them if you understand them.
And it makes you a lot better communicator, which is also a crucial thing, is communication.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Number 5, your database is your future income. I have messed this up, so take it from me. Again, me talking to my younger self. Get your database built. Every person that is interacting with you about real estate, you need to be regularly communicating with them, and not so they don't forget you. This is a lesson that has been learned hard over and over again. And, it's like every year as an agent, if you're not doing this, every year as a new agent, you're starting over. It's going to be a grind all over again, because you didn't keep up with your database. So keep up with your database. Send them a weekly email. Connect with them often. Invite them to client events. Continue to build it, because that is your business. And that way you can track. You can look at things. You can see who's opening your emails. You can look at what percentage of your database buys every year. Like if you had 3 years of data, you'd be like, hey, you know what? 20% of my database buys or sells for me every year. Then you just have to grow the database.
Right.
And then 20% is more the next year if you grew it by
It's a numbers
500
game,
people.
yep.
It's not a mystery, it's math. So take the time to lay that foundation of your database. That's what the business is. That's your platform. And so it's incredibly important. So again, you can track the numbers, which brings us to our next point. Number 6 is understanding, diving into the numbers, understanding where your business comes from, so that way you can make data-driven decisions and not emotional decisions. Realtors are terrible about this. They're always looking for a quicker way, a better way, an easier way, but they're not taking the time to understand where their business came from so that they can do more of it.
Yep.
And that's something that I learned later in my career, is like understanding and focusing and drilling in on the things that make you the most money and getting better at them is going to have a much higher return than you trying new things or going to the next flashy object.
Yeah. Your day is a bank of time. You're going to be trading that time for some sort of activity that makes you dollars. And if you're wasting too much of the time and not making enough dollars for the ROI, then you need to be doing something different. And you need to be focusing on what's driving income to your business now. In the corporate world, I used to get so mad at or frustrated about meetings. So we would have, like, let's take the salaries of 10 people who joined a meeting and boil it down to an hourly wage. If we're having an hour meeting and it's costing me 30 grand and we're not going to come up with a solution that's making our business more than 30 grand, we're not having the meeting.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is like your day needs to be boiled down to those minutes, and then direct those minutes to what makes you money.
I don't know that I could say that any better. You're exactly right. If you start to see your business that way, I guess the big picture thing is that you are not a salesperson. You are a business owner. You need to understand your real estate, what you do as building a business. And so the numbers are going to inform you. And so the more you can understand that from a profitability perspective, from a lead generation perspective, like how much time, also how much money am I spending on a lead source as you start to progress in your real estate career, which I don't recommend that people spend money on lead generation until they get to the 6-figure mark, because you can do it without having to spend money on leads.
That's a great plug for our 6-figure system download.
Yes.
If you haven't downloaded it, go download it, because it's got 3 strategies that you can use to drive more revenue to your business, and you do not have to spend more money on leads.
Exactly. Number 7, focus on profit, not flash. Agents love to look successful. They want to show everybody how successful they are. One of the things they need to be focusing on is how profitable they are. And don't get caught up in the trap of looking so successful, or what are people thinking about me, or the more successful I can show myself, the more people are going to use me. I think generally the public doesn't really care about the car you drive, doesn't care about, the flashy success. I would say, especially like in the markets that, in the southern market.
Yeah, there are markets where it probably matters a little bit more than ours. But if you're making $1 million a year, but you're spending $950,000, you're making $50,000. So,
right. Yeah.
Don't worry about the amount of commissions. Make yourself more efficient. Make sure that you're not overspending on certain categories. And by the way, you're a business owner now, so all of these expenses are tracked towards the business. So make sure that you're not overspending, and that the commission that you're making, you're keeping more of it. That's what's most important.
Yeah, and you can do that one of 2 ways. One of them is becoming more efficient with the things that make money, right? It's like, hey, focusing on the thing that makes you the most money, getting better at it, driving more revenue. The other one is cutting expenses and maintaining a tight budget. So both of those things together are going to create profitability, which is the whole point of being in business. So just like you said.
Yeah, just to give you some visibility on this. So on the brokerage side, we evaluate expenses monthly. Like we literally look at every dollar we spend on a monthly basis. And if we don't think it's being directed well, we get rid of it.
Yeah.
So do the same thing in your real estate business. Look at every dollar you spend on a monthly basis. And if you don't feel like that dollar is being spent well, or it's not returning what you thought it would, or it's not saving you time or whatever, get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have a separate bank account for your business, by the way, so that you can track those things. It makes it a lot easier. But yeah, get familiar, get comfortable with the numbers, because that's another thing that will inform your decision making as a business owner. Number 8, trust your own experience and interaction, and stop listening to the news. Sometimes when we listen to bad news, that will shape the way that we encounter the world, the way that we encounter our clients, the way that we encounter our lead generation, our mindset, like all of those things. So trust your own interactions. Now, that is your own interaction in your own business, and what's happening in that is way more important than what's going on with the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
It's far more important than what Redfin's doing. Look, you need to be worried about your business and gathering data at a micro level. Don't worry about the macro. And the reason that is that macro stuff, I mean, I can tell you, like, I listen to it. I want to know about it, right? There's a part of it. I had to turn it off last week. I'm like, look, this isn't really helping me. It's not really, it doesn't have any impact. People are still reaching out to me to buy and sell houses, right? Or reaching out to my agents to buy or sell houses. So why don't we let them deal with that and let me deal with the real business and what's on the ground and what's happening in real time and real life.
Yeah. We just did a whole podcast on this last week. So, I mean, if you want to dive more into that topic, you can listen to that podcast. But the gist of it is, like, just focus on yourself and the activities that you can control and move on. I mean, you should be aware of this so that if people talk about it in your community, you are informed. But do not spend all your time worrying about this, because it may never come to fruition, or it might, and we don't know. So let's focus on the things that we control now.
Number 9, surround yourself with amazing people as quickly as possible. And I'm probably not talking about other real estate agents. Not that I don't think real estate agents are amazing, but the more you can surround yourself with people who are successful business owners, executives, people who are living their life well, maybe far more experienced than you, those people, there's a couple things that can happen. One of them is you are who you hang out with, right? You become like the people you hang out with. That's the first. And so if you want to be successful and live a good life, then surround yourself with people who are successful and live good lives. But the other thing is, if you're hanging out with those people, they want to help you, and they will direct positive things towards you, whether it's business, key people to you, key contacts. Those people I find are very generous with their time and very generous with their contacts, and they will help you succeed. You will not do this on your own. You will do it through the people you're connected with. And I think we could say that for both of our lives.
Yeah. You need to find a good mentor, personal and professional. If it's not the same person, find 2.
Yep.
You need to surround yourself with business owners and influential people in your community, because you will start to learn what the people in your community care about.
Yep.
And how to solve problems for people in your community. And that is going to make you, 1, a better human,
Sure.
but 2, just be an influential person in your community, which is going to drive you more business in the long run.
Yeah. Become like them. Look at for that, and be intentional about establishing relationships with those people, right? Like, it's not going to happen overnight. But you need to be intentional. Like when you say, hey, we should grab coffee sometime, call them and set up a time to go grab coffee.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just say it. Actually do it. Okay. Number 10, it doesn't get easier. You just have different problems, and you get better at solving them, and you get better at regulating your emotions. This is one you were talking about. Do you mind sharing that story about the billionaire guy that you were talking about last week?
Oh, yeah. He just said, rich people have problems too, just money's not one of them.
Yeah.
And, that's the key, is like the problems that you have as your business grows, probably the problems that you have as a new agent, I should say, will later be small problems. Like those problems that you feel like are really big now are going to be small problems later, but you'll have other problems to deal with. And they'll, at that moment in your life, they're going to feel like bigger problems. So you're always going to have problems. Things are always not going to go exactly as you want them to go. But as you get better at problem solving, you worry about it less.
Well, the more you start to see problem solving as the path to your income, success, life. It's like you get paid to solve problems.
That's right.
And the bigger problems you solve, the more money you make. So you start to interpret problem solving as that path of, it's like, there's a book and I haven't read it yet, but it's called, but I'm imagining the concept is similar. It's like the obstacle is the way. You having problems in your business or your clients having problems, that is your path to get what you want. So look at those problems as positive. It's like, I thought about this, like when I was a new broker, I hated signing a release on a contract. And I remember like within the span of 2 days, I signed like 4 busted contracts. I'm like, what is going on with the world right now? Why are these contracts busting? But what I wasn't thinking about is those busted deals as a percentage of the gross deals that are going on in the company. It's like the more deals that are busting, the more deals that aren't busting.
Yep.
Right. And so you start to perceive, it's like, or if I've got agents blowing up my phone asking questions, I have perceived that differently too. I think maybe initially as a new broker, I always thought, I was like, oh man, they're wearing me out, or there's too much going on, or I don't have time to get to everything. And I started perceiving that as like, this means good things are happening if agents have problems to solve.
That's right.
So, so you start to perceive the world differently and start to perceive problems differently. So, the other thing is you just gain confidence in working things out. You learn how to effectively problem solve, to step outside of it, to get perspective on a situation, to again look at the psychology of the person. All of those things become a part of your ability, a part of your skill set. So yeah, you start to look at problems as good things.
Yeah. I mean, people call them problems, but it's really just life. I mean, you don't call your kids problems, but they're not. A lot of times you can't figure them out. I mean,
they kind of can be problems sometimes. Yeah, they're problems to solve.
Yeah, they're just things like where it's, I'm not really sure how they're behaving or why they're doing this, but we're going to work it out together.
Exactly. And so that's just life. You're always things are never going to be easy. There are going to be times that are going to be really good times, but the more you can start to perceive, like to be present, to look at what is good that's happening around you, focus on good things, express gratitude, look for the positives, and understand that problems are just a part of it. Right. Let's recap. What was anything potentially that stood out, or what can we maybe wrap this up with?
Of all the things we talked about today, there's just get 1% better at all of these things we're talking about. Get 1% better at problem solving, at negotiation, at educating your clients, at learning how to look at your business as a bank of time that you're trading for, dollar generating activities. So get better at these things. You're not going to overnight just wake up one day and you're 100% better and you're the agent you always wanted to be, but just get incrementally better, and over time you're going to be great.
I think what I would tell, my one final word is like, most of the things that I spent so much time worrying about never happened. And so you can just have that like anxiety drive all the time. And I can tell you on the other side of it, like most of those things you worry about aren't going to happen. You're going to be able to solve the problems that do come up. And so the more you can sort of regulate emotions, think, process, slow things down, the better. The better you get at that regulation, that handling of problems and negative emotion, the better you get at that, the better your life is going to be.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. All right. Again, Six Figure Real Estate School. We would love to have you in our next cohort. So reach out. There's a discovery call, link for a discovery call. Download our free resource, which is Six Figure Systems. We got 3 steps. Like, subscribe, give us a rating on Google Business, and we will get you a t-shirt. Just send us your address. We've sent out a few of those this week.
Yeah.
And
quite a few.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for being with us, and we will see you next week.